The wait is over. Dive into Audible's most anticipated collection, The Best of 2025, featuring top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals across all genres. Our editors have carefully curated this year's must-listens, from brilliant hidden gems to the buzziest new releases. Every title in this collection has earned its spot. This is your go-to for the absolute best in 2025 audio entertainment. Whether you love thrillers, romance, or nonfiction, your next favorite listen awaits. Discover why there's more to imagine when you listen at audible.com/bestoftheyear.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Heather, Min, Jason, Madeline, Alyssa, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Kristen, and Tia. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group and or Reddit, where I've been spending a lot of time recently, where we'll be hanging out talking about Hot Fuzz daily.
I'm a slasher of podcasts.
Paige, you would be the murderer on the podcast for sure.
Oh, real talk, I just came back from my family's ornament exchange, and I made a ransom letter for figgy pudding. So, on my way.
You're halfway there, Paige.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. But this week, Paige made us watch Hot Fuzz. Check it and see.
I've got a fever of 103. Here's the thing. I think there are a lot of people who try to argue that this is not a horror movie. Fine.
I'm not even going to give this a 1 on the scary scale, Paige.
I will say it is structured like a slasher. It is very gory.
It is a horror comedy for sure.
It's a horror comedy. Yeah. I would say so.
There's as much well, maybe not as much, but there's a lot of gore in this. I was going to say as Shaun of the Dead, and probably not because it's a zombie film.
Not quite.
But there is a lot of gore.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we'll talk about it as we get through.
When the journalist takes it deep at that back alley, two-dude secret rendezvous, Paige.
Yes.
I almost threw up. I was like, this is disgusting.
I would say there's more gore in this than there are in about half of the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, but this one doesn't have people that could fight evil in their sleep. And I do want a Hot Fuzz : Dream Warriors at some point.
I mean, that's Nightmare, not Friday the 13th, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
I was already last night trying to sell my dad on making him and my mom double watch Black Phone and Black Phone 2. So
they're good movies. I mean, they scared the shit out of me, but they're good movies.
Enjoyed them quite a bit.
I mean, this movie is a good movie, and it did not scare the shit out of me. I mean, there were 2 spots that got me, and both of them were like cheap musical jump scare moments where nothing scary is really happening. And it's like Edgar Wright and the filmmakers are like just like, it's a horror comedy. So they're just like playing out the horror beat in a comedic way. And it still scared me. It like makes me mad. My body just does not like that kind of shit. It makes me so mad. I will say in hindsight, this movie's a lot less fun when you know that the quote police end quote were created so that the poor would have to subsidize the protection of rich people's property and businesses.
Sure.
But like, it's still really funny. Like, I really like it.
I mean, I will say, even in hearing Edgar Wright talk about this movie, part of what they see is he and the other people that made this movie see as the humor in this movie is that the police are the good guys when they are effectively being fascists at the end, and how critical he is of fascism.
Oh yeah, they would go to jail forever because they murdered a bunch of people. And
they murdered a bunch of people.
And I do mean like the heroes of the film.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, after they've killed pretty much every boomer in town,
everybody,
they're like, hey, will you come back to London and be super cop there? Maybe kill a bunch of old people there. Like, I don't know what they're trying to get at because Corona came a few years after this.
Oh, yeah.
And got most of those guys.
Wiped him. I feel like it's a love letter to the RoboCops and Beverly Hills Cops and diehards of the world of like...
Certainly Point Break, right? Like,
yes. And Super Cop, the Jackie Chan film.
Oh, yeah. But I love that Nick Frost is like asking those questions of like, have you ever jumped through the air and shot both your guns at the same time? Have you ever jumped through the air and shot one of your guns at once?
And then shouted, ah!
And then they literally do every one of those things they talk about doing in those... Like, they do it like once or twice.
Love it.
And every time they do it. Even the shooting the gun up in the air in like an emotional moment when he could have shot his dad.
Right.
It's so funny. And then we got Chekhov's sea mine. Like, come on.
Chekhov's sea mine, Chekhov's swan. There's a lot of well-placed Chekhov objects in this film, and I always appreciate that. I mean, this is one of those. Shaun of the Dead is the same way. And also the third, because I think part of the reason we did this is the least horror movie of the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh, you think so? You think the Alien one is more horror?
Definitely more of a sci-fi horror, I would say, because it's kind of a Body Snatchers kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I guess you could say sci-fi horror. It's definitely sci-fi. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that in a long, long time. So like, I don't remember fully, but there are some like scary beats in it.
There's some scary parts.
Yeah.
But I would love to do the whole Cornetto trilogy. Big fan. Edgar Wright usually both writes and directs. And for the Cornetto trilogy, with the exception of the last one, he wrote them largely with Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
And then the last one is co-written with Joe Cornish, who did Attack the Block. So like, there's some good writing stock in there. He's meticulous about his story points. There's fantastic Easter eggs, even though it is an homage and definitely referential to a myriad of other, like there's probably references to 50 to 60 different films in this movie. They're not super obvious. Like you could enjoy the movie and not know about any of them, and the movie is still enjoyable.
Yeah.
But also, if you catch them, it's an extra layer for you as you're watching the movie. I just got back. My dad and I saw Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, where it's 1 and 2 together last night. And those reference films in a very different way than Edgar Wright, I feel like, does. His is much more subtle. Or if it's going to be more blatant, they call it out. And I do actually really, really like the way he structures it. And I love his cinematography style.
Yeah.
He's worked with some of the same cinematographers for years, and it gives it a very specific vibe. I know people were maybe not as happy to see less of that in Running Man. I still think Running Man was fantastic, but...
Still got to see Running Man.
Oh, so fun.
I really like Edgar Wright's filmmaking style because it's clear, even when you watch a movie like this and not Scott Pilgrim,
right,
that he thinks in like comic book panels.
Yes.
And I really jive with that. And by that, I mean, like, there are like, he'll do 6 quick cuts of iconic shots, all that are things about someone getting into the car,
Right.
And it's just like boom, 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 in the car, gone.
Or paperwork.
Yeah.
Something mundane that is now an action sequence. Yes.
I'm a nerd for that shit. It's just like so fun to watch. There's even one of Sean Pegg in this where he's like staring somebody down, waiting for them to like run, and it does a few of those, and then the last one's his eyes, and you see his eye twitch a little bit, and then they start running, and you're like, oh shit, that was badass. So it's like, it's stuff like that that makes me really like it. And I do think specifically the Cornetto trilogy, and I really do think Shaun of the Dead and this one really exemplify it. It kind of feels like a bunch of friends got together and were like, hey, we have a town. Let's like make a movie. Like, what can we do?
Yeah.
What can we do with this town we have? And it's like that kind of energy captured on film. And I'm sure that's not how it went down, but
it is how it went down. I can burn fun facts for you right fucking now.
But let me finish. But they have like this, like, I don't know, like very playful. It feels like it was a very collaborative energy, like kind of thing. And I really love that. I don't even know if any of that is true, but that's the way it like looks on screen. Like, I believe Olivia Colman had the most fun being sexually harassed by this on camera, like on purpose, because it's like making fun of it. She looked like she was having the most fucking fun, and she is doing, I think, let's just say she's been asked to do way better stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is before she like blew up.
Yes.
Yeah. The first thing I saw her in was Green Wing, and I was like, this like overworked office admin lady is good.
Right.
Green Wing. Have you seen Green Wing, Paige?
I have not, but that is the vibe I get from Olivia Colman almost all the time. And I do love it every time I see it.
Green Wing is like a hard comedy in a hospital.
Okay.
That is like almost magical realism at points. Like that.
Oh, that sounds great.
It is a vibe. Some people really don't like it. To those people, I say, you're right. But it's for me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, check it out. It had 2 seasons.
But, okay, spoil some fun facts about this movie and the collaborative process. So, a bunch of the people in this movie and Shaun of the Dead, obviously, have been working together since Spaced or before. If you haven't seen Spaced, highly recommend.
Spaced is so good.
Fuck the US version, even though there's only like 1 or 2 episodes that even survived. But like, it's all about the UK version, and it is now typically streaming. You can usually find it. Back in the day, we had to like get region-free DVD players and shit.
I know. That's how I watched Coupling. I had to spend $100 a season to get it on DVD shipped over from the UK on like a DVD that could be played in the US.
Anyway, all that to say, so these people have been working together for multiple movies. They have a process of how they write movies together. It largely dissipates after the Cornetto trilogy. Everyone kind of goes their separate ways to do their separate things.
Yeah, they all got like way better paying work, I'm sure, because they had like built a career already for themselves.
Yes. Now, a couple things about this in relation to Shaun of the Dead. And I guess maybe at World's End as well, although I'll talk about that less because we haven't done it yet. They have said that Shaun of the Dead is their movie. I mean, now granted, a zombie rom-com, but a lot of Shaun of the Dead is actually about turning 30 and the idea of growing up and what that means to take your life more seriously and to actually, you know, when faced with life's problems, to kind of put them into perspective.
Yeah.
They have said that World's End is often about turning 40 and the changes of like, you truly are not young anymore in a way. Like, you have to evaluate what your life is and what that means and what that looks like. And what does it look like when you try to hold on to that for too long?
Right.
This one comes in the middle and is essentially about the friendships you make in your older years that are kind of more deep than the shallow friendships you had as children, which is a huge theme in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it is a buddy cop movie. It is filmed in, get ready for this, Edgar Wright's hometown.
What?
Yes. His family and friends from home are extras.
Ha! That's awesome.
Yeah, like, and basically, so it's the town of Wells. So that is a famous cathedral, by the way, that a piece falls off of. I've been.
That's cool.
We actually spent a day there when I was in the UK, and it's just a town. Like, there's not much to it.
I mean, we see a lot of it in the movie. It's just a town.
You see a lot of it. They use a lot of it. If you go, and it's easy to get to, you can just walk around. You can go to the grocery store. You can like all kinds of stuff, which is very fun. There's a few things, like there's a fountain in the center of the fictional town in the film that they built for the movie, but largely so that they could stage Video Village and stuff around it and have a place to shoot from like the center of town square out around, because otherwise it's just like a big town square. But it's essentially the town embraced the movie. And for like 2 months or whatever, the whole town was basically behind making this movie.
That's so crazy. I love that so much.
So fun. Now, there is one thing about it. And again, because I have been there, I could verify. The town does not have a model village. However, in driving there, almost every town around it does have a model village.
That's a thing?
Yes.
I thought they just wanted to like do like a battle, like the end of every Power Rangers episode I've ever seen where we're fighting Goldar or whatever.
No. And now I knew before we went to the town, because I went specifically because I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Of course. You love Edgar Wright.
I love Edgar Wright.
Yeah, and he's a great writer-director.
Of course. And of his films, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But when we went on the like highway, or I don't know what they call it, interstate, freeway, whatever, as you're kind of going that direction, you start to see signs for like model village up, next exit or whatever, and whatever the village it is. And I was like, that's so crazy that is a real thing.
I can't imagine the level of intoxicated I'd have to be like, we got to go check out that model village, right? Like, it's a model village, guys. Like, I can't imagine ever having that thought to myself.
Me? Well, mainly because of this movie. And I was like, fuck about the model village then.
Oh, I'd go see this model village.
Yeah.
But if it was just like a random town, like honestly, if Nashville had a model village, I'd skip it.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of the villages around this that have them are very old. It's near Bath, kind of. And I say near in the context of an American driving around. They were within driving distance of each other. So if you've been to Bath in the UK, you've driven through this part of the country to get there.
I mean, to an American, London is driving distance to Bath because it's like 4 hours or something, and we drive everywhere long distances like idiots.
Correct.
Yeah. You can get to Wales from London in like 6 hours, I think. I'm probably wrong about that one, but I did, like last time we were there, I drove from London to Bath because when I proposed to Natalie, I wanted to do it on a trip to the UK, and I wanted her to think that it was like a literary tour instead of us getting engaged. So I did not propose to her until like late into the trip. And we went to like some literary places in London, obviously. Ever heard of it? Because the people in this movie are not familiar. They keep calling it London or whatever. It's crazy.
London.
And then we went to Bath and saw like the Jane Austen stuff. And then we went to the Cotswolds, and that's where I proposed because we stayed at the place where the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland would sit in the garden and write Alice in Wonderland. And I proposed to her in that garden.
So Wells, where there's a shot, about 125 miles because freedom units from London.
What do they call them there? Is it like 80 kings? I don't know. I honestly have no idea how long it is.
It's metric system.
Oh, kilometers or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that we make fun of it, but like logically, that system it makes way more sense.
But yeah, it's about a 2 to 3 hour drive depending on traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not far, but yeah, model villages. Fuck about the model village then. So fun.
I really do like this movie. It's a lot of fun. It is very much like propaganda for the UK police force, which is kind of fine with me because so were those like Monty Python sketches.
Sure.
But like they also have V is for Vendetta. So like they know what they're doing.
I view this more as propaganda for American police forces.
When they go into the evidence locker at the end, it is for sure.
Yeah. Well, because UK cops don't usually carry guns.
Well, no, it's a big deal that he was on that armed squad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The Kalashnikov, the offender had the Kalashnikov. But I think this is a love letter from someone who has never experienced American policing to the movie ideal of American policing.
Me too. I honestly don't even think it's like intended to feel like propaganda.
Yes.
I think it's intended to feel like Bad Boys.
Yes.
And like, Die Hard and those kind of things.
Bad Boys 2 specifically.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they even see it like that.
Right.
I think that we see those because they're American films that like glorify police. And so we're like, oh, this is like kind of like propaganda. Like watch French Connection. It's a good movie, but like the police in that are pretty terrible and they're not like positioned that anyway. But like, I think this movie just like came from somebody who grew up on those movies and loves those movies and wanted to make a movie like those movies.
Yes.
And I kind of dig that because I also love Bad Boys, like it's ridiculous and I don't love the propaganda nature of it, but I kind of love the buddy cop formula a lot.
I mean, I see, especially as an adult who has grown up and watches the news,
right?
I see American buddy cop movies as fantasy.
They are.
As this is Americans' fantasy of what they wish police would be in their communities, which are essentially superheroes. That's what they want.
Yeah.
It is not the reality of policing anywhere, like at all. But it is this very unique, almost cultural fantasy that we have. And what I love about this movie is that we are seeing our cultural fantasy through the eyes of somebody experiencing it from a completely different societal view. And I love that because it highlights some of the crazy, really ridiculous parts of our fantasy in a loving way.
Yeah.
And I dig it. I have always loved this movie for that.
Yeah, because I think it is sort of like, honestly, paying homage to those movies.
Yes.
Because they grew up on them and love them too. Which, that's probably why I like this movie so much, guys. Like, it is what it is. But this movie does prove that, like, the worst cops are the ones who, like, make it their identity and were, like, recently broken up with and are just hiding the immense pain by doing the one damn thing that gets them from thinking about like how much love they lost and how they'll never love again.
Right.
So he's just like trying to hide this pain under layers of work, each case file building up the wall around his broken heart.
Yep.
I truly think the only thing that'll help is just killing a bunch of boomers.
Love it.
Like he's just got to kill a bunch of boomers in this town and then he's going to open up to love again. That's what it is.
I mean, it's even the generation above boomers because
yeah, you're kind of right.
it's older.
Yeah, this is 2007. So it wasn't even boomers. It was probably more like whatever they would call the greatest generation, which they might call it the same because they fought that same war.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it is that generation. You're right.
Yeah, because Edgar Wright's like Gen X, so he's older than us by probably 10, 15 years, give or take. And then it's his parents is who they're fighting. So whatever that extra, which could just be early boomers, but yeah, largely I think the generation after.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he pulls in every single townsperson has been in some sort of secret agent or cop, like famous cop movie.
Really?
Everyone, every single person in town.
That's awesome.
Like, we'll get into it in fun facts, but the fact that you have James Bond in this film, and he's just one of many with multiple credits to their names, like, and they reference some of the movies in the movie where they're like, oh yes, so-and-so was an extra in Straw Dogs. And it's like, no, they were just in Straw Dogs.
Yeah, they were like a co-star in that movie.
In Straw Dogs. The original Equalizer is in this. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah. Paige, I don't know who was the Bond in this movie because...
Timothy Dalton.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I only know him as the bad guy from The Rocketeer. But Paige, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene.
Also from Beautician and the Beast. Don't forget that one.
I know. That's actually a good movie, though. Come on.
It's a great movie. We open on a classic Edgar Wright montage.
Yeah.
Quick cuts. And it's basically giving us a rundown of who Sergeant Nicholas Angel, or I guess Constable at this point, Nicholas Angel is.
Yeah, because he does get promoted for being too good at his job. This movie does rip off heavily Sleepy Hollow. We talked about it when we did that movie, and upon watching it again, I was like, yeah, it does rip off Sleepy Hollow.
Here's the crazy thing, though, because Sleepy Hollow only came out like the year before this or 2 years before this.
I think Sleepy Hollow was closer to 2000, but I don't know. It is close.
That could be. Sleepy Hollow, I think, was 2002.
Yeah, I'll check. Let me see.
What I think probably happened, because Sleepy Hollow is positioned as...
It's 99.
99, okay.
Yeah.
So a little longer. Sleepy Hollow was really positioned as like a new sheriff in town. I think that is actually an older trope that is either Western or old cop movies that they're both ripping off. I just don't have the exact... like kernel of what it is exactly that both movies are ripping off.
I mean, I definitely think buddy cop comedies like predate Sleepy Hollow for sure. Like, have you not read the one about the Roman soldiers that had to arrest this like upstart religious figure early in the ones?
Not familiar. I mean, I think about it like Beverly Hills Cop, where you've got like a new cop from out of town. Die Hard even does this too, where they're like a super cop from out of town in this new place.
Yeah.
But this montage, A, is why we chose this for December, and B, essentially is listing off all of the different things that Nicholas Angel does, that he is kind of a know-it-all, kind of a goody two-shoes. He is by the letter, by the rule. Everything has to be just so. And his arrest record is unparalleled. And he's recently been on a break from work because he was stabbed by a man dressed as Father Christmas. So
it counts.
Santa, ergo, it's a Christmas movie.
Exactly.
And I know I told you this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you remember who is playing Santa in this movie.
It's Peter Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
As Father Christmas.
Amazing.
And also, it's also other things like the 100-meter dash in like the like extracurriculars and stuff. Like overachiever.
Oh, yeah. He's just like super jazzed to be a cop. Like, it is his life. He clearly has some, like, I'm going to say undiagnosed, like, ADHD stuff going on because he cannot stop with it.
I would almost maybe say obsessive compulsive as opposed to ADHD,
yeah, maybe.
Just because he's so type A.
He literally talks about it in the frame of, like, I can't turn my brain off, which is something that I really jive with that because that's, like, my form of ADHD. Mm-hmm. So, like, when they were talking about that in the bar scene a little bit later, I was like, man, I have been there and I have ruined relationships this way, like fully. Yeah. Just because I got hyper focused on whatever I was working on.
Yes.
Been there.
But we finished this montage in the sergeant's office.
I love this setup, right? Because he's talking to a sergeant and the sergeant's like, hey, good news, man. We're making you a sergeant. And he's like, yes, great. And he's like, well, it's really far out in the country. I can't remember the name of the city, Paige. I'm sure you do.
Sanford.
That's it. Yeah. And then he's like, wait, what? and it like escalates up the chain, and it makes me laugh every time.
Well, and every like link in the chain is a more famous actor, which I find hysterical. Till we get to like Bill Nighy at the end.
But he's the only one that tells him the truth, which I actually kind of appreciate Bill Nighy for.
Well, and they all start with, "Hello, Nicholas. How's the hand?"
Yeah.
Still a bit stiff. Like, it's the same, but it's the very like, "Hey, how are you feel?" "I'm nice. Good cop, bad cop," or whatever.
Yeah.
"Hello, Nicholas. How's the hand?" But yes, they finally get to, "You're making us all look bad."
Yes.
Essentially, it's like, you've arrested so many people. There's not enough for the rest of us. And at one point, they do say, "Well, you said you wanted to settle down in the country someday." And he's like, "Yeah, I meant in 20 years. Like, not now."
It also subtly hints that they're tapping his phone, which I thought was really funny.
Yes.
Because he's like, "I only told that to Janice." So they're either tapping his phone or Janice told them that, because it's revealed later that she works. Janine, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
She works for the police force. I think she's not a cop, but like a coroner maybe, or like crime scene investigator or something like that.
She's a crime scene investigator played by Cate Blanchett.
Yes.
In a mask. Like, you never see her face.
Which is the funniest way to use a very famous actress,
very famous actor.
You're like, there's no way that's actually Cate Blanchett, right? And they're like, yeah.
It is.
No, that is her, yeah.
It is, and the story behind it is they basically only had her for a day.
I buy it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but my favorite is because he then eventually goes to her crime scene to like talk to her. You know, and they're kind of like discussing their breakup. So it's recent, where they've only broken up like a few weeks before, and he's like moving things out, and she's like worried about him.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, "How's the peace lily and everything?" But it's a very like emotionless conversation, which I think is but it's right after this one. Basically, they tell him he's been reassigned. He immediately goes to talk to Janine about it.
I love when they tell him he's been reassigned, and he's like, "Well, you know who won't stand for this? The boys." And he walks out into the bullpen or whatever, and they're all like holding up signs like "Good luck," and like they're holding up drinks and stuff. They're like already celebrating him leaving, and he just sort of like hangs his head in shame a little bit. And I love that. Like, Bill Nighy was right, like around why they want him to leave, and it's because they want to be able to arrest people too, Simon.
So, and he goes to a crime scene where they are investigating. Janine is on the team. He's talking to her, and then there is a brief cutaway where he keeps talking, and then the person's like, "Oh, I'm not Janine," and because they're all masked.
Yes.
This is also where he's like, "I'm sorry," and she's like, "Oh, I'm seeing somebody," and points to one of the other crime scene investigators, and he just goes, "Hello," and you can't tell them apart. They all look the same. It gets me every time.
It is very funny.
But we then leave, and we briefly see his dormitory and like him packing. But next thing we know, he is on the train out to Sanford.
Yeah, it's like a quick train montage out to the country.
Him and his Japanese peace lily, which, by the way, so normally I just have my notes from when I watched the movie. I actually have a copy of the script for this one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in the script, his peace lily is just described, it's all caps, like a character, pot plant, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
But planes, trains, and automobiles, he arrives in Sanford in the village square in front of the Swan Hotel because his apartment isn't ready. We will find out later that the apartments are never ready because they just don't want a sergeant there, and so they never actually get the apartments ready. They always kill him before they need to.
Yeah.
Which no one has investigated, which I think is bonkers.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yep. Anyway, he walks into the lobby of the hotel where the woman at the front desk is doing a crossword puzzle.
I love this.
And he walks up and just says, "Hi, I'm hoping I could check in." And she says, "Check in, but you've always been here," as a reference to The Shining.
Yeah.
And looks up and is like, "Oh, I thought you were my husband who also works at the hotel. You must be Sergeant Angel."
Then she goes, "Fascist."
Fascist. Because that's the actual word for the crossword, although it does turn out to be fascism.
Yeah.
7 letters.
I love when when he calls her a hag, or doesn't call her a hag, but helps her with the crossword.
I have it right here. It's okay. I'm sure I can make my own way up. Hag.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon. Evil old women considered ugly or frightful. 12 down.
Yeah.
Bless you.
It's so funny. I love it.
Oh, fascism. Wonderful. But He goes to his room and unlocks it and enters. It is essentially identical to the room he left back in London.
Yeah.
Just slightly different colors. Puts his plant on the windowsill. It's incredibly quiet. He then grabs his jacket, gets dressed, and goes out again into the square. He walks through the empty streets, seeing that the pub seems to be the only thing with any livelihood going on.
Yeah, it's a small town.
We did go drink at this pub when we were there because, of course.
Wait, you did? Oh, that's cool. I would have ordered a cranberry juice.
Yeah. Anyway, as he walks through, he sees a group of teenagers kind of leaning on the kind of fountain in the center with skateboards. They all have hooded sweatshirts on.
Which is very like Attack the Block kind of, which you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, yes. But also like the implication that teens wearing hooded sweatshirts are a threat instead of just teenagers.
Yeah, and just like cold.
Right. And this will come back because they call them like hoodies. And we do see that they do break the law at one point here, but such a minor infraction, no one would care. But Sanford cares.
Yes, they do.
And that's going to be a problem later on.
Well, I mean, we see most of these kids dead, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
Because he goes into the pub, he orders a pint of lager, or he orders cranberry juice.
This first time. He does eventually start drinking, but this is cranberry juice.
Yeah, this is cranberry juice. Next to him is Nick Frost, who orders a pint of lager, who is in the script just listed as rotund drinker. Big fan of that one.
Yeah.
But they're drinking, and he is talking to the bartenders who are like, "Are you the new policeman?" Yes.
It seems like they're like the proprietors. Like I got the vibe that they owned that place.
Yes, they own it.
Yeah.
But this is the first kind of round that we're getting of all of the townspeople. So we met the woman in the hotel. We're meeting the porters, Roy and Mary.
Yeah.
And they're not fans of the newspaper because, quote, they listed her age as 55 and I'm actually 53. But this is also where we get the Sanford Citizen with the guy who writes for the Sanford Citizen who's going to come in later to try and help the case.
Tim Messenger. Yeah.
Tim Messenger.
And he's always like coming up with, I think, the most sexually suggestive like titles.
The headlines are so suggestive and all spelled wrong. It is so funny. But he is kind of reporting on, I think he's kind of on to the case before Angel even is.
I don't think he realizes it's the case. I think he's trying to just figure out about where the new road is going, you know?
Right,
and that is the case. He just doesn't realize it, you know? I mean, that's what gets him killed.
Yeah, because it's mystery surrounds proposed bypass is the headline on this paper.
Yeah.
But as Nicholas Angel is looking around, he notices the teenagers in the pub. Now, again, this is the UK, so it's 18 instead of 21.
Yeah, but when that kid smiles and that ray of light hits him right in the face, he's like, no.
From his braces, it reflects off his braces.
So funny.
And he immediately, and they do this in a quick montage, which is very funny. When's your birthday? 22nd of February. What year? Every year. Okay, get out.
Yeah.
Like, get out. You're 37? Yeah, get out. So he arrests all of them.
Well, no, I think he just kicks them out this time.
No, he does bring them all in, and one of them's wearing a traffic cone.
Yeah, but I think he collects those afterwards because he goes back to the bar, and the guy who's like the bartender for the evening is like, want another cranberry juice? As it's like the bar is now empty.
Because there's no customers.
Yeah.
Yep. But then also, as he goes to leave the bar that time, this is where he runs into the other patron.
Yes.
AKA Nick Frost, who is about to drive clearly under the influence.
Him stabbing his car key into the car door trying to get it open to then drive home is hilarious to me.
Yes. Yep. But we cut to, he brings Nick Frost to the police station.
Well, he almost runs him over. Yeah, because Nick Frost like gets in the car and like backs into the fountain and he was like looking at the fountain. So he's like jump out of the way really quick.
Right.
He literally goes, grabs him out of the car and walks him down the street. He's like, I'm taking you to the station. Where is it? Because he doesn't know. He literally has only been to the apartment at the Swan Hotel and the pub.
Exactly. But now he gets to the station where we meet the first of two front desk sergeants, both played by Bill Bailey.
Hilarious.
One has curlier hair, the other one does not. But I do love that every time they switch off, they're like, nobody tells me nothing.
Yeah.
They just like, it's always one of the brothers. But he shows up and the desk sergeant's like, Sergeant Nicholas Angel, when did you start? And he's like, tomorrow. He's like, well, you've already arrested the whole village.
Yeah.
But he literally just escorts Nick Frost in, like, you in for the night, force free, you know where it is. Like, go.
I love that because it sets up really well that Nick Frost is also a cop, but no one said that yet. Like, that reveal happens the next morning, and I kind of love that. He treats, like, the holding cells like his own drunk tank, but, like, he's happy about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
He's like, oh, it's great. I have a place in the middle of the town that I can go sleep it off if I need to.
I can just sleep it off. But this is where the desk sergeant is like, we'll talk to him in the morning, but do you really want to process all of this? It's a lot of paperwork and my pen's running out.
And he's like, I got you covered.
I've got two. But this is where we get all of the kids' mugshots and their paperwork. And this is where Traffic Cone Kid, quote, unable to remove his headgear, is recorded as 8'2", which is so good.
Now that I think about it, Paige, if you have the keys, a holding cell is pretty much just like a very shitty hotel room, I guess.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. I get why Nick Frost uses it that way, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but in a pinch, it's going to work.
In a pinch. But we cut to Sergeant Angel laying in his bed, and there's a great transition here where it's just night to day in the same shot.
Yeah.
Where he wakes up in the morning with a great score. There's a lot of the Kinks Village Green in this movie. They use it a couple different times to kind of be this like idyllic country or whatever, but it is sinister underneath. But he jogs through town, and this is where we get one of the first of multiple callbacks of, you see that sergeant? Look at his arse.
Yeah. And they do sort of these sequence of events a few times too, right?
Well, this is very similar. If you're a Shaun of the Dead fan and you remember from Shaun of the Dead where we trace Shaun's walk in the morning back and forth to the bodega.
And then they repeat that exact same shot after the apocalypse starts. Yeah, so good.
Yes, this is the same, but it repeats 3 or 4 times with heightening danger every time.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's just the first lap where we're like meeting everyone. This is also where we meet Mr. Skinner, and he runs up alongside him and just says, you got to arrest me. I'm a slasher. I must be stopped. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm a slasher of prices.
Bro, do not roll up on the newest cop in town and tell him you're a slasher. Just like, that's not the right way to be like, hey, come shop at my store. We got sales.
Come shop at my store.
I think this is him wanting to get caught personally. Like, I've read enough about serial killers that I do know, like, flaunting it and getting away with it is kind of part of it for some of them.
Yes. I also love this character is so over the top and bonkers. I love Timothy Dalton's performance. I love even the small thing of he refers to it as the local supermarché instead of just the grocery store.
Yeah.
And he's always in a suit.
Yeah. He's a businessman, Paige. I'll say this about Timothy Dalton's performance. He is evil. You can tell he's evil. But damn it, he's charming. Like, the dude is charming. He's so good.
That's why Fran Drescher fell for him in Beautician and the Beast. Like, obviously.
I get it. And he was a fascist in that movie.
Yes. Oh, man. I mean, like, and that was a couple years before this, too. So, like, I think he had a run of portraying fascists after being James Bond, which is pretty fun. But he goes to the police station, runs into the desk sergeant, is like, did you change your hair? And it's because it's the brother that has flipped.
Yeah.
But he asks, how's our guest in number 4? And number 4 is empty because Nick Frost is now dressed as a policeman right next to him. And he's like, who escaped? And he's like, you, why are you dressed as a police officer? And he's like, because I am a police officer.
I love that Simon Pegg's face is like, oh, we got to get you fired.
Right.
And then the guy who's like the head police officer for that town is like, oh, I see you met my son. And you're like,
my son.
I guess that's why you're a police officer.
Yeah. The Black Forest Gato is for misplacing his helmet. He'll be bringing us ice cream for weeks for being in the drunk tank. And you're just like, no.
Yeah. Nothing says good policing like nepotism, Paige.
Right. We get a tour around the essentially bullpen of like who all the cops are and the evidence room.
This is where Olivia Colman says, I could have given you a tour, and then leans in really close and says, I've been around the station a few times. I was like, oh my God, Olivia Colman, calm down.
I love her in this.
Me too. She's great in everything. And I think that people, because of what she got famous in the US for, was like more serious stuff. I don't think people like understand how truly hilarious she can be.
Yes.
She is. And I think people who can do comedy to that level can often do like serious stuff really well. Like I think Robin Williams is that too, although I think he was a different, more stand-up kind of funny than Olivia Colman is, but she can just do like it all. And I think this movie shows that she's got some serious comedy chops because she doesn't really have much to do other than say these lines that are like sexually suggestive.
Every line is gold.
Yes. And she nails it. Every one of them is like so funny.
But I love when they go like further ensconcing this police force in the kind of backwatery, like small townness. As they go through, they see the locker room, which is a locker room, but then they go to the riot room and there's a hedgehog on the floor, just like disturbed. And then we see Chekhov's evidence room.
Yes.
With code 999. So, which
would be like if our evidence rooms were 911.
Right.
It's hilarious. That is like the first code anyone in town would try on the evidence locker.
Absolutely. Or just like 123 or whatever.
Yeah.
But a trip to the Andes. These are Detective Sergeant Andy Wainwright and Detective Constable Andy Cartwright. And they are, Rafe Spall is one of them and Patty Considine is the other. And the two of them together are some of my favorites in this movie of just like, everyone's packing around here. Who's packing? Farmers and the mums. Like, they do not believe him. They are assholes the whole time until he like mobilizes them at the fight at the end. And then they're just like, fuck yeah. They're like ready to shoot people.
I do love that like after he talks this movie has a very generational sort of thing to it. So like when he talks to the cops that are around his age and converts them to his side, they do like also help him murder a bunch of people in town and will also be spending the rest of their life in jail.
Yep.
But this guy, well, not this guy because it's two guys, but like especially Rafe Spall, like I didn't really recognize him in the movie and almost Patty Constantine too because his mustache is
Considine,
yeah. Because his mustache is nuts. I love when they go to the pub and he like takes a drink and he's got foam all over his mustache. And Simon Pegg's like, "You've got a mustache." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." He does like that line delivery is so funny to me.
I think it's incredibly interesting to watch because Rafe Spall is also in Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
He's Sean's co-worker who's like, "You got red on you. I thought you said no personal calls on company time."
Yeah.
And to see the difference in that to this, and then to see him in like The Ritual, which is fucking crazy. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Wild to watch that dude's career.
I know.
But they do ask, they're like, "Do you know why they're called the Andes?" He's like, "Because they're both named Andrew." And he's like, "Yeah, they told me you were smart." And then Danny, Nick Frost, is like, "It's also because talking to them is an uphill struggle, isn't it, Dad?" And a waste paper basket, as it says in the script, a trash can, comes flying out from where we just were meeting the Andes and hits Danny right in the head. Is just like, "Fuck off." So fun. Perfect. They also have a swear box.
Yes. They use it so well later on.
Yes. We've got Tony and Bob Walker and Saxon. Now, Tony Fisher, they introduce like Clueless Morgan in Muppet Treasure Island, where he just kind of, like turns to the camera. And this is an Easter egg I have loved since the first couple times I've seen this movie. I'll burn a fun fact for you right now. Look for this when you watch it. When he turns so that his head is perfectly positioned in front of the chalkboard in the background behind him.
Yeah.
And the chalkboard has words around it all pointing to the center like it was a graph. And it just says like incompetent, slow, doesn't do paperwork. And it's just like descriptions
That's so funny.
of him. And it's all arrows pointed to his head. And he's just like, "Huh?" It's so good.
That's so funny. I've missed that, I guess. That's so funny.
Yes. And then we meet Bob Walker, who's the one that they need an actual translator for, with Saxon, his dog. But all of Walker's dialogue in the script is spelled out phonetically. So it's all one sentence. Like it doesn't like, it's not words. It's like, and you're just like, "Oh my God, what?" But then everyone else just responds as if they understood him, which is great. And especially later when they have to bring him to translate for someone else.
For the guy with the shotgun. Yeah, and then Nick Frost has to translate for that guy. So it's like 2 layers of it.
Yes.
It's very funny. Yeah.
Very funny. But this is where they meet Doris.
Yeah, that's the Olivia Colman police lady. Yeah.
Yes. Then they go upstairs to the neighborhood watch.
Yeah, the NWA.
Mm-hmm.
And they structure their organization exactly like King Arthur structured his court, because they are at a round table to discuss the town.
That's later. This is just when they go to the room where you see the banks of TVs that they're watching the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy who works. I guess he doesn't work there, but he's like a liaison from the NWA. And we're actually still at the police station. We don't see the round table at NWA until we go to the headquarters.
Yeah.
Which I thought we were there, but I see where we are now. Sorry.
Not yet. It's later that night, essentially.
Yeah, you're right. But this is where it sets up that like someone from the Neighborhood Watch Association comes and like monitors. I guess that's like CCTV cameras.
Yes, CCTV, because this is where they see the statue man, the like painted statue man. And they're like, he was here at 11, 12, and 2 p.m. And if we don't come down hard on these clowns, we'll be up to our balls and jugglers. And this is where we get the like crusty jugglers.
Yeah.
Where they just don't want street performers is what it comes down to. But they have like printed out photos like a private detective about the street performers.
Every time I see like the person who's like all in gold or whatever doing the statue man thing, I think of the Will Forte bit that he did when he tried out for SNL. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Where he's doing that whole song about like, because like from the perspective of a guy who like was frozen and then like someone came and stole his money, but because they didn't put money in, they took money out. He couldn't move. And then someone quickly throws in $1 and chases it. Like, so then he gets out and like robotically chases him and then comes back all sad and then sings this song. It's very, very funny. If you haven't seen it, Google Will Forte SNL edition. You can't watch it because I didn't get video of it, but he tells the story in a few podcasts, and it's so funny.
I think either Edgar Wright knew about that or had the same idea, because there is a joke in the script that I don't think makes it to the final cut of the movie, if memory serves. But Tom Weaver, the neighborhood watch guy, is like, I tried to move him, but it cost me 20 quid.
Yeah.
As if he was like paying him to slowly move
out
of town, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Thank you to Aura Frames for sponsoring this show.
That is correct. The hidden gem, which has become the favorite gift long after that wrapping paper is gone, everybody.
That's right. It's pretty much the season for gift giving. So why not give the #1 rated gift we're talking about, the Aura Frame? It has unlimited free photos and videos.
Indeed.
You can just upload photos of your loved ones and then give somebody the frame, and they just see those photos and videos on a rotating basis.
That's right, because you can preload that frame with photos before it even ships. How is that for friggin' personal?
It's really, really good. You can share photos and videos effortlessly. It's perfect for, new grandparents, or you want to give something to your loved ones this holiday season. And yes, there's a gift box included. Every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag.
Now, see, that's good, because if you're like, I forgot about the holidays, I need to ship something fast, but it's going to look impersonal, it's going to arrive in a big brown box. No, it's going to arrive in a beautiful gift box with no price tag.
So don't wait. Win the holidays now with Aura Frames. For a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter.
Wow, just use the promo code HEADGUM at checkout. That's AURA frames.com with the promo code HEADGUM. The deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show you're listening to right now by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions obviously apply.
Thank you, Aura Frames.
And thank you, listener.
But Frank, the chief of police, crumples those pictures up and tosses them. So it seems like he doesn't really care. And he's like, we just humor them. We let them think they run the place. But it's not really that.
Yeah, it's not.
Now, they don't have an office for him necessarily. But that's fine, because Sergeant Angel is like, my office is on the street. But that's why we don't ever really get view of him sitting in his office until much later in the movie.
Yeah.
We cut to them at the pub with all the other officers, He's the only one wearing a stab/bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just kind of chilling, and he has cranberry juice again. But down below the table, Saxon, the dog, is also drinking from a bowl of lager.
Yeah. He's a cop.
He's a cop. But this is where Danny starts to really kind of ask him a lot of questions. And they're like, why did you choose to come here? And he's like, I didn't. And this is where Tony, the one with the chalkboard, is like, oh, it wasn't your choice to come down here and show me how to do my job, our job. It's like, but this is where Danny is basically asking, like, hey, what about the Kalashnikov? Why did you get stabbed? What was that like? And he's so excited to have him and hear about real police work, while Simon Pegg, Sergeant Angel, is like, this is also your job, and I'm alarmed that you don't know how to do it.
Right?
Anyway, this is also where we find out that Sergeant Popwell, the previous sergeant, has passed. But also, he had something that Nicholas Angel didn't have. A great big bushy beard! Notable, because when we see his dead body later, that's how we will identify him.
Yeah.
But, so, he does admit that he had to, unfortunately, shoot. He says, I shot a crackhead with a Kalashnikov. Wow, where'd you get that? The offender had the Kalashnikov. Wow, where did he get that?
Yeah. It reminded me of the revenge porn episode way back in the day of It's Always Sunny, where yes. the girl is telling Mac about her boyfriend who posted some revenge porn of her, and he is handling it the absolute wrong way by going oh, disgusting. Where would somebody post something like that even? Can you tell me where to find that kind of thing? It's like that. It's got that kind of energy. He doesn't want to say, I want a Kalashnikov, but he really wants a Kalashnikov. It's like that energy.
He really wants a Kalashnikov. But this is also where we get the very famous line from this movie of, there's more guns in the country than in the city. Everyone and their mums packing around here. Really? Like who? Farmers? Anyone else? Farmers' moms. What's it like being stabbed?
It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. What's the second most painful thing you've ever experienced?
Yes. We then cut to Sergeant Angel in his makeshift office, right? Not the one that is flooded.
Right.
But he essentially is told that he has to then go to the neighborhood watch meeting that night.
Yeah.
We cut to him and Danny out on the street. And Danny has continued the interrogation of have you ever fired 2 guns while jumping through the air? Have you ever fired 1 gun while jumping through the air?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a high-speed pursuit? Have you ever fired a gun once whilst in a high-speed pursuit?
They do all of this shit later, too. It's awesome.
Yes, but they don't need to do anything. There's nothing to do, essentially. So Danny just starts asking him about which movies he has seen.
Yes.
As far as cop movies. Dirty Harry, no. Lethal Weapon, no. Die Hard, no. Bad Boys 2, no. You haven't seen Bad Boys 2. We then cut to them changing out of their uniforms. They're kind of bullying Angel, but not really. They leave a note in his locker and, whatever.
It's probably what would have at the time been considered hazing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Not that makes it okay, but
right.
It was probably more common practice back then.
But he then goes back to his hotel where the neighborhood watch meeting is happening. And this is where he meets everyone. So he meets the head of the school. He meets Simon Skinner. He meets Leslie Tiller, who is the florist.
Yeah.
And she's the one who put Sanford on the map. They've essentially won the most beautiful city or best town multiple years in a row. There's also people who own farms, and they're all kind of asking oh, I hear you're the marksman. You might have shot somebody. Maybe we can go shooting together. But this is just for us, the audience, to kind of see all of the cast of characters. But they get into their meeting where they essentially are we've got to get rid of the jugglers because otherwise they'll be this is serious. And those hoodies, we got to get rid of them. I've seen them again. There was graffiti on the fountain, all of it.
Yeah.
But we also know that the Village of the Year contest is coming up, but they have to get rid of the living statue first, allegedly.
Right.
We don't get any resolution on this because we cut to him back at his hotel room. where he's just like, this is with the giant floral display welcoming him that is crammed into his tiny hotel room. But it's essentially him just reflecting on like, there is nothing for me to do here. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, because it seems like the town's just like a small town with like nothing going on.
Yeah. We cut through a bit of a montage of him like talking to local students where Danny is sitting with the students.
Yeah.
Like raising his hand to ask a question.
This is also like, I don't know. You really don't know the passage of time here because it might be like a week. It might be like 6 months.
Right.
Because like one of these like montage moments is them getting the call about the swan. Like the swan has escaped the castle or whatever.
Right.
And they do have to chase that swan the whole movie.
Any luck catching them swans then?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought to myself that the swan just escaped the castle is not a sentence you'll hear in America typically.
Right.
And that is something you might hear over there.
I think commonly, yes, if you have swans and a castle.
They seem to have a castle pretty much every town.
Yes. But this is also, we're kind of seeing this through the lens of Tim Messenger.
Yes.
Who is from the Sanford Citizen and photographing and writing articles about everything that Sergeant Angel's doing.
Sergeant Angle.
Angle, because he spells it wrong.
Right.
Yes. They then take that article and put it all over his locker where they've all circled Angle and they call him Angle. More an Angle.
Yeah.
But this is where the swan escapes. But my favorite is they go to take a report and they're like, can you describe her? And he's like, 2 foot tall, long, slender neck, orange and black. It's a swan.
It looks like a swan.
Yes. It evades them every time. We get a montage of them chasing it, but they go in to buy cornettos. Any luck catching them swans then? Just the one swan, actually.
They use this moment as a callback later. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that, but yeah, they do.
Yes. But this is also where Danny's like, do you want to go to the shop again? There's like nothing to do. And he's like, there's always something. Look around. What do you see?
Yeah, he pretty much teaches him how to stop and frisk with just his eyes, if that makes sense.
With just his, hey, what do they call it in Always Sunny? An ocular pat down?
It is an ocular pat down, yes. And it's so funny because it sets up the dude in the like long green jacket. The reason he's wearing that is because he has a gun under there. Not even like a pistol. It's like a rifle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a long barrel rifle.
Yes. They note a guy with a purple like tracksuit with his cap pulled down. And it turns out he was stealing biscuits from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that guy will come back because you'll find out that they murdered him for stealing biscuits / cookies, Jaffa cakes or whatever from the grocery store. But this is also where we meet Michael Armstrong. They call him Lurch for short, but he's the giant yarp. Narp.
I don't think we ever hear him say narp.
No.
And the fact that Simon Pegg guessed right that was his negative statement that he actually could say, to me is one of the funniest beats of the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
I do want to point out, this movie's got like a bunch of famous British actors. Some of them were super famous at the time. Mm-hmm. Some of them just became super famous. This guy became the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
He went on to like have a very big career, at least on HBO after this.
Well, yeah, because he's the
Mountain.
I forget what they call him. The Mountain, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they then go to talk to Simon Skinner. And they talk to him, but he immediately has to go clear up something, on an aisle. But he originally does not want to prosecute the guy that they catch stealing biscuits.
Right.
This is where they see and catch him. And he's like, no. And it's because he knows they're going to kill him. Like, he knows that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But they do it. Now, this is also where Danny is trying to pick out new DVDs from the bargain bin. He picks up Super Cop, the Jackie Chan film.
Yeah.
Heavily influencing this movie. But they chase that guy down with the biscuits. They arrest him. This is also where they do a callback to Shaun of the Dead with hopping the fences.
I love watching Nick Frost just bumble through the first one. It's so funny. He's so good at the physical comedy stuff.
Yep.
I think Nick Frost gets kind of painted as like the not as good sidekick to Simon Pegg, and I really love Nick Frost. I think he's very, very funny.
Yes.
Sorry, he's not the Mountain. He's the Hound.
Right.
The Mountain is like his foil, if that makes sense.
Right.
I had to look it up because I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. We're talking about the Yarp guy there. Sorry.
Yes. We cut to a car, I believe, speeds past. They pull it over for speeding.
Yes.
And it turns out to be Martin Blower, who is on his way. Now, here's what's really funny to me. Reading it in the script, they actually say in the script that it is a play production of Baz Luhrmann's William Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet, the movie that gets cut. So as the audience, the first time we see it is when we see the play, because he essentially writes him a ticket anyway. They try to give him tickets to the play, and he's like, I can't be bribed. Here's your ticket. But the second they get back to the police station, they're like, you two are going to go represent us at the play.
I know, they try to not go, and then they're forced to go sit through this local community theater's version of Romeo plus Juliet by Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
Which I don't know where Baz Luhrmann is from, but I know where Shakespeare is from, and the fact that this town in England decided to do Baz Luhrmann's version and not Shakespeare's, I think is both brave and awesome, and I loved it. Yes. When I saw them actually doing this version, I was like the Scorsese absolute cinema meme. I was like, yes, I love it. It's my favorite version.
Oh.
And then when he drinks the potion or whatever, who is the guy from Shameless, by the way? If you've ever seen the UK version of Shameless, he was the William H. Macy character in the British version.
Right.
And so he dies. And then, you guys have seen Romeo and Juliet, right? But instead of having the gun sound effect go off, she just yells bang.
Bang.
And it makes me laugh every time. And then it cuts to them doing a song and dance to love me, say that you love me from the stage. So funny.
My favorite part of the fact that it's the song and dance is the intro to it. They're like, dun 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 dun.
Hey, love me. Yeah. It's like they're like dancing them out.
Yes.
Like everyone's done and we're just going to do like the musical outro for this Romeo plus Juliet.
Oh, and it's terrible. And I love the reaction shots to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost watching it like, what the fuck did we just watch? But as the play lets out, Tim Messenger is like, do you have a quote for the Sanford Citizen? And he basically says, it was enjoyable. Cop enjoys watching young lovers? No. Local Bobby gives thumbs up to teen suicide? What? No.
He literally goes, that is just terrible. And I thought we were going to see him review it, and it was going to be local cop says, that is just terrible. because Tim Messenger's not a great journalist, and I could see him taking that quote out of context, because clearly, Simon's that is just terrible was to him saying the bad headline.
Yes. Now, as they're kind of making the rounds in the lobby after the play, they do run into Simon Skinner again, but they also run into Martin Blower and Eve Draper clearly having an affair.
That was kind of clear even before we get to the play. Like, they very much are like flirty canoodling in the car even.
Right.
And Blower is wearing like driving gloves.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but if you ever see like a dude wearing driving gloves, don't go with that man to a second location. Like, that makes me concerned.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the pieces of the mystery that looks one way now and then looks different later, because we will find out that Eve Draper works in the city planner's office.
Yeah.
And this is where Skinner says, nonsense, I'm sure if we bashed your head in, all sorts of secrets would come tumbling out. And it sets up this idea of like, oh, this is because of the bypass and the road, and they're trying to stop the road. And then at the end, when they're just like, horrible laugh. It's so funny to me that they're just like, oh, that bitch's laugh was annoying. I love that they set up a very valid and interesting mystery, and at the end, it's just petty grievances. It gets me every time.
I know, but like the way it does actually connect, like it almost all starts with her. Not that it's her fault, but like, because Skinner is who he is and she works where she works, she has access to like where the road's going to be built.
Right.
So now Skinner is, and we learn all this like throughout the movie, but he's working with the property developer to buy up all the land that's going to be like right next to where that new, I think it's more or less an interstate that's going to be built.
Right.
And making that land way more valuable. So like, that's also a good reason. It's not a good reason to kill people, but like I would buy that in a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it just turns out, no, they just didn't like the way she laughed, guys.
Yes.
So dumb.
I do love that he and Danny kind of get a second to talk to each other. And this is where we find out that Eve Draper got fingered by some other guy at school, like because they all went to school together, and we get, this will come back later.
Yeah. Nick Frost says that, because they're talking about her liking older men. And he's like, oh yeah, Martin's older brother said he fingered her up the duck pond. And I was like, Paige, I'm not up on my British slang, but which hole's the duck pond?
I don't know, but earlier today, I texted Andrea Gazzetta the following.
Oh, no.
She had posted a meme about beavers taking shelter in a beaver complex, and I texted back, taking refuge in my beaver complex is how I describe sex after we watch too much Nat Geo. But similarly, getting fingered up the duck pond would apply.
Yeah.
So this is also where Sergeant Angel says, we just sat through 3 hours of so-called acting tonight, and their kiss was the only convincing moment in it. That will come back as proof of their, like, Pepe Sylvia red string version of the plan.
Yes.
Momentarily.
Also, we see that kiss. It's like the kiss that Juliet does after Romeo is dead. And it's like she leans down and kisses him once, and then her head goes up as to like, okay, am I going to die from the poison? And then you see him like move his head up like he wants a second. It's like another kiss. It's so funny to me.
But we see them all leave the playhouse, although it seems like he and Eve Draper are going to continue to canoodle. However, we see a figure in a black cloak, similar to Ghostface, dart into the alley behind the playhouse with an axe.
Yeah.
We see essentially a gloved hand find a door handle, and it is very much implied that as Martin Blower and Eve Draper are canoodling, they are killed. However, and we don't see it happen, we see them basically the very next day that there has been a collision, is what he says, because accident implies no one was to blame.
Yes. I do think that this is funny. It's clear that like he chopped their head off,
right?
Or someone did, because I'm assuming this one's Skinner, but it might not be. But he chops their head off and then needed to like make a like, why did their heads come off in an accident kind of situation.
Right.
So they had them like driving with the top down on the convertible that we just saw them speeding in and then going under a sign that would have taken their heads off. But clearly, if they had gone under that sign, she would have been fine because her head would have been in his lap, Paige. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, no, of course. Yes.
It cuts to like their heads just up in the road.
On the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the ground, surrounded by broken glass.
Yeah, of course.
We kind of skipped over it, but Angel gets a call in the morning before he gets there that just says decaffeinated. And then they go to the scene where their heads are sitting on the ground, meaning that Danny does not know the word decapitated.
I thought that shit was so funny. Decaffeinated.
Decaffeinated. But he immediately looks at this and this is not a real accident. Somebody staged this. Like, we should cordon off the area and whatever. But, like, I don't think this was a car collision.
Yeah, we don't actually know why just yet because he doesn't say it. He does say it later, and he does have some pretty decent, theories. Obviously, we don't know anything yet, but he has reasons for thinking It might not have been a quote, accident.
Exactly. But as the townspeople are driving past, what's happened? Car accident. Nasty way to go.
It is.
Yep.
Ask my brother. Let me go ahead and turn that sign back to how many episodes it's been since I mentioned it, and we'll move on.
Only one, I think.
Oh, a new record.
New record. Simon Skinner drives by and he says, ooh, Martin and Eve, such a tragedy. And they're like, how did you know that's who it was?
Honestly, I don't think this one's fair because they do cast a lot of speculation at him. And listen, it is him. It's also a bunch of other people. But the heads are on the road. He came from the road. I mean, if he looks to his right, he would have seen their heads.
I mean, allegedly it's cordoned off so he can't see their heads at this point, but he could probably still see the car.
Fair, yeah. So the car, yeah. I mean, he also did it. So or ordered it or, knows about it because he's in the cult,
Right. But they go back to the police station, and this is where Sergeant Angel is like, I don't think this was an accident. And Wainwright and Cartwright, the Andys, are like, no one gets murdered here. Like, murder. Like, this is not.
I do want to say that Paige texted me murder. At one point today when we were talking about, hey, we get to talk about Hot Fuzz today. And she texted me murder. And I heard it in the voice of the Andys.
Yes. Thank you. Wonderful. But he lays out his case for there's no skid marks at the scene, which means they didn't try to break and for multiple yards. And then it clearly cleaved both their heads off, but then they just landed heads. he lays it out.
Here's why I knew it wasn't.
Why?
The front of their faces aren't smashed.
Right.
And if the front of your face hit a sign so hard it decapitated you, your nose would be broken too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But their faces look as great as they did when they glamored us off for 3 hours the night before, Paige.
Yep. But they get interrupted by Frank, who's like, spot a bother up at Elroy Farm, where they have to go talk to someone who lives even further out into the country because he's been clipping hedges that don't belong to him. But they have to take Saxon, the dog, and Bob as well. So they're like, why are we using the dog? And Danny's like, it's not the dog we need. It's Walker, Bob Walker.
Yeah.
So this is where we have the multiple translations of, and again, I want to show you the script page. I'm just going to share my screen with you. So these are the lines.
Oh my God. It literally is phonetic. That's amazing.
Yeah. But essentially he's like, I'm just trimming the hedges. I don't care whose hedges they are. It's a hedge. I trimmed it. What's the big deal?
Right.
He then asks him, because he's holding a shotgun as he's telling them, he's like, do you have a permit for that firearm? And he's like, yeah, for this one. And he's like, what do you mean by this one? They go into the house and it is rifles, shotguns, pistols, blunderbusses, and a sea mine.
Yes. I do love that he like hits the sea mine more than once in this, actually. But the first time he hits it, it like starts to click or whatever, and they just like run away and it doesn't explode, which makes you feel a little like, aw. And then when it actually happens, you're like, yeah. I love it.
But they take all of this into the evidence room.
Yes. And it's a lot. It's like multiple trips into the evidence locker.
Yes. So he and Danny go out to celebrate at the pub after, and he drinks maybe like 1 or 2 pints after trying to order red wine.
Yeah.
But they haven't found anything from that morning's case, and he and Danny are just kind of talking through it and hanging out at the pub. And this is where he says, you don't switch off, do you?
Yeah.
You sound like my ex. Why? Did she have a deep voice? No. Always accused me of not being able to switch off.
Yeah. He's pretty much a workaholic. Like, I honestly identify with that so much. Especially when I'm stressed. Like, if I'm stressed, the best thing for me to do is to work, because it's the only thing that'll get my mind off of it.
Right.
And believe me, I wish I wasn't that way, because I would rather playing video games take my mind off of it or something, but it just doesn't.
Sure.
It sucks.
So essentially, he tells a story about his uncle who was a cop who turned out to be selling drugs to students, but he wanted to be Sergeant Angels wanted to be a police officer almost his entire life, even like from childhood.
But that's his origin story. He like gives his origin story, which was his uncle was a cop and bought him a like little cop car for when he was, I think he was like 5. Mm-hmm. And he would like go around the neighborhood arresting bigger kids who were just like playing along, I'm sure, because this kid's 5. But like he really loved the feeling of like, hey, I'm cleaning up my neighborhood at 5. And so he wanted to emulate that throughout his life. And I think it's also that his uncle ended up being maybe not the best cop, and he kind of like feels like he wants to prove that you can do it right, you know?
Right. But then we go to Danny's story, and Danny is like, I think this is what my mom wanted after she died. And Sergeant Angels was like, how'd she die? Traffic collision. This is a signal to later where we will find out probably more about how his mom died that he doesn't realize yet. But this is also where we introduce his, like, to get out of that kind of harder conversation, he does the fork in the eye ketchup packet trick that will come back later.
I know, that's also a tag for later, right? I love that.
Yes.
I think, and you've got the script, so you can tell me either way. And it comes later, but I think Nick Frost actually says after Mom killed herself, I think he's sort of like lying, not lying maybe, it's probably a lie of like, I don't want to deal with the conversation that normally happens after this.
Yep.
So it is like one of those lies that if I learned later that like my friend who like when I didn't know them as well lied to me about this, I'd be like, I fucking get it, man.
Right.
I'm glad you took the route that made you not have to relive that night, you know?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Because like I don't feel bad that he lies to him in this moment, really.
We'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah. But we get a montage of the glasses multiplying on the counter. And this is where at the bar they meet George Merchant, who is we will find out, very rich man in the neighborhood who has built himself a house that is out of keeping with the aesthetic of the neighborhood.
Yeah, which means it's nice. It's got like a yard.
Right.
And a big gate.
Meanwhile, Angel and Danny decide to leave. They're going to walk home for the night. So does George Merchant, but they're like, somebody needs to get him home. But they walk away. We just know that George Merchant is very, very drunk. That will come back later.
Yeah, he's peeing on like a pinball machine. Like he was like, let me go to the bathroom, and he falls over, and like we don't see him again. You figure it like stumbles to the bathroom, and then they finish talking, and they like look behind them, and he's peeing on a I think it's a pinball machine. It
says in the script, Frank points to George Merchant, who stands in the corner with his knob out, pissing into the coin tray of a fruit machine.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, they kind of carry him along the street unconscious, and they also see the hoodies kind of out and about.
Yeah.
After graffiti tagging on the village map. They do have to, he reaches out to try and stop them. They throw the spray can at him and scatter. But essentially he pulls the hood off that kid's face to face with a blonde school kid. So now we know that most of the hoodies are just young kids.
Yeah.
Essentially. We assumed it before, but like this kind of confirms it. But they pick up George Merchant again and try to carry him to his house. They do. This is where we see the house that he essentially built it 6 months ago over what used to be an orchard.
Yeah. And listen, if that used to be like a nice, pretty orchard and now it's this house, I would be bummed too. You know?
Yep.
It is a nice place, but he's supposed to be like the rich new money in town that everybody hates.
Yes.
You know?
Right. And I do love that he's like, how much do I owe you? He kind of like wakes up and Danny goes 20 quid and he hands it to him and then Angel takes it and hands him back his change so that no money is exchanged. But they let him inside and they're like, wouldn't want to be him in the morning, foreshadowing. Because as they walk out of the shot, the cloaked figure is there again.
Yes.
We then go inside George Merchant's house where he tries to essentially cook himself a full English in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
With the beans and the toast and everything.
Well, I mean, he's not doing that. That's what's set up after the guy in the...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, that's the way they, like, explain away the death, right?
Right, because the house explodes.
Yes.
Essentially.
But I think he may already be dead. You know, like, I think he killed him and then staged his body, more or less, and then exploded the house to hide that he was dead before that.
Right.
And I do think if they had like a proper coroner who wasn't in on it, like they probably could be like, well, there's no smoke in his lungs or whatever. Like there are probably ways to tell, but like no one in town is going to look into it, you know?
Yeah. But this is where we cut to Angel and Danny go back to Danny's house. And this is the iconic scene of Point Break or Bad Boys 2. And he's like, well, which one do you think I'll prefer? And he's like, no, which one are we going to watch first?
Yeah.
Like we are watching both of these, but like, which one do you want to watch first? And we do see them watching Point Break together where he does the like, oh, and like shoots along with it.
I mean, which is a scene that they pretty much do shot for shot.
Yes.
Except it's Nick Frost and his dad and not Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the next morning after the house has exploded and they're standing outside. And of course, people pulling by in their cars, like nasty way to go, kind of like the same thing with the car accident, which I think is them just checking to make sure it happened and trying to throw off suspicion. But also that serial killer thing of wanting to be around when they discover the bodies.
Oh, yeah. And he's there every time.
Yeah.
This movie really foreshadows him as the killer. Like it really does. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a red herring, but also it's not at all a red herring. Right.
I think in some ways, and this is definitely like, the killer in this is definitely modeled after Scream.
For sure.
With like the hooded figure and the fact that we will find out there's multiples of them.
Right.
But what this movie does something that latter Scream sequels struggle to, that I complain about all the time, is that it makes sense and you could track who's where. And they literally show you who is where at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But Tim Messenger comes up and asks to have a quick word, and they think he's going to report on the case, and he's just like, no, I just wanted to find out, what's your perfect Sunday? And you're like, what?
And the other cop comes over and is like, I'll handle the press. And he goes, my perfect Sunday. Like you think he's going to be like, all right, fuck off, get away, you know, but he's like, he then starts to answer the question. And we see him answering that question to like a news reporter with like a camera later after the big event happens.
Yes. But with this one, Sergeant Angel is like, this is definitely murder. Like the house exploded.
Yeah.
And the Andes are like, no, this is accidents. And he's like, this can't be accidents.
Yeah, it's like the third weird death in 2 weeks or whatever. Like this is
3 people have died in less than a week is what he says.
It's too many freak accidents for one small town, right?
Right. And the Andes are like, well, yeah, that guy died like last week and this other guy, like people die all the time. It's accidents. And he's like, well, but the victims all knew each other. He's like, well, everyone knows each other around here. It's a small town. Like, duh. Even though we will find out they are all linked. They're all linked.
Yes.
Anyway, we cut to back at the station. The neighborhood watch has something they have to show Sergeant Angel, and it is they found the swans.
Yeah. But that's all positioned like, oh, we found something interesting in the footage of the house that it blew up or whatever.
Right.
And it's not anything that leads them to the case. It's just like the swans. It was a swan sighting.
Yes. But the police chief, Frank, pulls Sergeant Angel aside and is like, hey, I know that you are used to a city where bad things happen to you all the time and murder happens all the time. But this is not that. This is the country. I think you need to chill out.
Yeah.
Like, is there, you are an exceptional officer, but maybe this is just like too much for you.
Honestly, it might be too little for you. It's kind of like the way he's positioning it.
Right.
Like, I know you came from a crazy place. This is a very like calm, quiet, safe place. And it's not largely because he is killing and like, he knows a lot of people who are killing people. But, you know, it's all for the quote greater good. So it's fine. It's
fine. The greater good. But we cut to he has to then be on patrol basically at, they call it the church fete, but like a festival.
It is a save the clock tower of Back to the Future.
Save the clock tower.
But it's for this town, so it's the cathedral.
It's the church roof.
Yes, yeah.
Famously, Wells Cathedral. Ancient Wells Cathedral. We got to save the roof. But this is where it seems like Tim Messenger has started to put things together, and he wants to talk to Sergeant Angel about it. And so he tries to get him kind of separate and a way to talk to him. So he's like supposed to meet him at noon. But unfortunately, Sergeant Angel is distracted by spinning the tombola or whatever they call it.
Yeah, he has to go on stage and do something as like an official like thing for this event or whatever. So he's on stage when this all happens. In fact, he doesn't see Timothy, well, whoever it is, I think it's Dalton, pushing the spire over or whatever it is, but he sees that start to fall and he runs over there and he sees it go through Tim Messenger's head.
He does. And
it's real gross.
Before that, he does also win a giant cuddly monkey for Danny with an air rifle by like his, marksmanship.
Yeah. And it's like probably a 4-foot monkey.
Yes.
But yeah, Tim Messenger is dead. D-E-D dead.
Very, 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 very dead. And at this point, he's like, someone is killing people. Like, this is,
yeah,
it's bad.
This is actually the one that I think, like, probably is the closest to accident looking to me.
Yes.
Because 1,000,000-to-1 shot, Doc, like that, the aim, how did he know that was going to happen? Like, the fact that he was able to plan for that thing killing him, I think is impressive,
It is, but part of the reason Sergeant Angel sees it is he sees someone up on the roof pushing, and so he runs up to the roof to follow, but there's no one there. He comes back down, and everyone is like, who would do something like this? Maybe, and they're like, I guess maybe it was an accident because none of them saw the person on the roof. They're
trying to explain this penetrative death just like a cheating spouse would explain cheating on their like their partner by like, I don't know, maybe she like slipped and fell on it, babe. Ever thought of that? Like that's like the way the cops in town are trying to explain away this spire kill.
Yes. And again, they're like, this isn't the city. Not everyone's a murdering psychopath. High time you realize that, you and your monkey. And they gesture to Danny, but Danny is holding that giant monkey and just says, did he mean me or that?
Yeah, I love that you can't see the monkey. So it's just like not a hero shot, but it's like a chest up shot of both of the two main guys, right? And you can't see the monkey. And so you're like, oh, damn, they called him his monkey. And then Nick Frost is like, do you think they meant me or the monkey? And he holds up the actual monkey. I was like, oh, that shit's hilarious.
Yes, but it's even in this moment that he talks to Danny about it. And Danny's like, I don't know. There's, nothing really going on. Maybe it is just accidents, like whatever. And he kind of lashes out at him a little bit and is like, has anything I've told you like gotten through to you?
Yeah.
And Danny similarly is like, you don't know how to switch off. I do love that in hearing Edgar Wright and others talk about this scene, they compare it to a couple breaking up. Like, purposefully, that is how it is structured.
I could see that.
But yes, we cut to his hotel room as he comes home. And on his bed is the cuddly monkey with a card reading, "This was left for you at reception." So essentially, Danny, like, "You take it. Like, I don't want it anymore." Gave it back. But he goes to check his voicemail, and he essentially looks at the Sanford Citizen, sees words and pictures by Tim Messenger. He hangs up, flips through the paper and all of the mundane stories, but finds a section marked Sanford People with George Merchant and a quote that reads, quote, "This is just the beginning. I have big plans for Sanford." And Sergeant Angel starts basically building his Pepe Sylvia board.
Yeah.
And so we see flash cuts of articles around the bypass and selling land and a bigger mall that they're building. And this is kind of building out what he thinks the mystery is. We'll find out later. He has overthought this.
Yes.
But before that, he goes back to the station and Danny is like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Like, I lashed out at you. I didn't mean to." But he tells him, "I think I'm onto something." And he tries to link the deaths with Danny.
Yeah.
But someone calls Sergeant Angel from London. He says he'll ring them back. We'll get back to this later. This is them offering him his job back that he's not going to take.
Right. We don't get that yet, though.
First, we get Danny and Sergeant Angel walking the same beat we saw them walk earlier in the movie as he's running him through the essentially who's who of his plan of, like, Tim Messenger did the paper. He liked puns, terrible speller, but he uncovered important information about George Merchant, who fancied himself a property developer and had big plans to develop Sanford, but not in keeping with the community aesthetic, who was a good friend and client of Martin Blower, who is a realtor and leading light of the local drama society, bad actor, undoubtedly bad driver, not necessarily, cheated on his missus, yes.
Most definitely.
And we both know who with, Eve Draper, which when he does it, he puts his finger under his nose for the duck pond.
Yes.
Eve Draper, fingered. Yeah, liked older men, fingered. But crucially, where did she work? The Department of Planning and Development, where George Merchant had secured his permission to build his dubious mansion on Norris Avenue. So they think essentially, and we cut back into the office, they're presenting to everyone else. Tim Messenger was on to something about George Merchant, who was into something with Martin Blower, who was up to something with Eve Draper, and Simon Skinner has something to do with it all because he runs the local supermarket. Maybe it's all accidents. People have accidents every day. And this is where they bring up another one of Gary Butcher drowned in his own septic tank the other week. What? How? Right? Impossible. But this is where Frank, the police chief, comes in and he's like, "There's a fire at the station." And they're like, "What?" And he brings in a birthday cake because it's Danny's birthday. And he didn't tell Sergeant Angel because he was having so much fun working and investigating the problem with him.
Yeah. They're friends at this point. So he's just like hanging out with his friend and it's like early on in the friendship and you don't want to make it weird. So you don't want to be like, "Hey, it's my birthday."
Right. But because it's his birthday, he's like, "Oh no, I need to get him a gift." So Sergeant Angel leaves and goes to Leslie Tiller, the florist, to get a Japanese peace lily. And she basically reveals that she's going to leave Sanford. They offered her a lot of money for her land, so she's going to leave, even though cousin Sissy is here, which we will find out is Sissy Skinner.
Yes.
Her cousin.
Which is Timothy Dalton.
But she got a huge offer. She's going to leave. But just as Sergeant Angel turns around, somebody gets her in the neck with the shears.
Yeah.
Brutal. Lots of blood. Very dead.
Very dead.
And we get to see the hooded figure running.
Well, and he had just gone back out to the car to get his pad so he could start taking notes because she literally ties everything together in 2 seconds for him. So he's like,
"Yes,
let me grab my notepad so I can write this down." And he sees the murder happen and sees the guy run out. And instead of, I guess, just going and opening the door he just walked out of, he decided to break the glass. So he just jumps through I guess he throws his baton through and then jumps through it as well. Yeah.
Yes.
But that door was unlocked. He just went out through it.
Yes. He runs through the back of the nursery and we watch as the cloaked figure hurts their leg somehow, slashes their leg, and then continues to run, and he chases it. Now, when we get the recap later, we will realize this is 2 cloaked figures.
Yeah.
Because he chases it basically back to the grocery store because he's convinced that it's Sergeant Skinner. Or not Sergeant Skinner, Mr. Skinner. Sergeant Angel, Mr. Skinner.
Right.
But he then basically comes back, and it's kind of in the squad room where he's like, lays out his plan, and they're like, except for Martin Blower, he was killed in an accident. Really? No, of course he fucking was. And they're feeding the swear jar the whole time.
Yes.
But this is where we get murder, murder, murder. Change the fucking record.
Yeah.
But this is also where Danny brings back, we sat through 3 hours of so-called acting and their relationship was the only realistic thing in it.
I love how Nick Frost pats on him like, I told him for you.
I told him about it. So they decide to go to confront Skinner about it. They call Mr. Skinner to the manager's office, but his leg isn't hurt.
Right.
So he clearly wasn't the hooded figure, or at least wasn't one of them. And they basically are like, we think that Leslie fell on her own shears. He's like, no, I saw it. I know she didn't.
Yeah.
But this is also where he lays out his plan to Skinner, where he's like, you were at the scene of the Blower Draper deaths, and I couldn't help but recall your comments during the theater about bashing her head in and the secrets that would come out, but then the bypass would make it hard for your grocery store to do the business it does because a bigger grocery store would be down the road. You don't want that. And so you consumed with concern for your own business and not wanting Leslie to leave because of her contributions as a florist for the Village of the Year contest. You killed her to prevent her from selling her land and essentially being the light of the Village of the Year contest. And it's this literal giant block of text of what the plan was. And then Skinner's like, super entertaining, but like, why would I kill Leslie? We're cousins. I'm cousin Sissy.
Yep.
It's because I used to study ballet. Everyone knows about this in town.
Yeah.
But like, I was just making jokes and I would relish the competition. I'm Leslie's only cousin, so you can't really build. I inherit her land. Like, it's not really like I might sell it. Who knows?
Which to me, I think is also motivation.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he might sell, and then that's a good amount of money.
Yeah. But he then also is like, also, you're accusing me of the like church roof, but like a lot of people hold down multiple jobs. We're contributing to the church. He basically explains a lot of things away.
Yeah.
With like, well, it's not murder. We're just people, right? Even though, yes, I was at all those places. I did have access to all those places, but I didn't cut my leg. So it's not him.
Right.
And he has video of him being in the store at the time of the killing.
I love when they're looking at that video because it's literally him talking to every fucking patron in the store.
Yes.
And then the one that they like pause it on is like him putting his arm around a patron and then like laughing up at the camera.
Yes.
Like they're having like the best day. It's so funny.
Yeah. And he does say, he's like, if I do end up owning the land that Leslie left behind, I do want to turn it into a memorial garden in her honor.
Yeah.
But now we cut to the dining room at the hotel, and Sergeant Angel's eating alone, and Joyce, the fascism hag, she comes over and is like, I can't believe Leslie's dead. How did it happen? And he's like, she tripped and fell on her own shears because I can't prove it, essentially.
Yeah.
But we cut to the station locker room when they're taking their uniforms out and someone's written twat across the inside of his locker. And Danny's like, it wasn't me.
Well, it's the inside of his hat.
Inside of his helmet, that's what it is.
But they're at the locker, yeah.
Yeah. He and Danny sit in their usual spot eating cornettos.
Yep.
But as Danny goes to go buy the cornettos and they're in the shop owner says, no luck catching them killers then, like the swans.
Yep.
And Danny says, that's just the one killer, actually. But it like supercharges Nicholas Angel's mind where they're like, let's fucking go. Like, no, I've got brainwave. We got to get back to the station. They get back to the station and he goes to Frank and he's like, it's more than one person. It's more than one killer. And Frank is like, it was Skinner a minute ago. You were wrong about that. And he's like, maybe it still is. Maybe he's not alone. Maybe there are others. I don't know, but it hit me. And Frank stops him. He's like, I've seen this before. Sergeant Popwell. It was exactly the same thing. You came from a city that's dangerous and it's driven you crazy. You see murder everywhere. But do us a favor, go sleep on it. And in the morning, if you still feel that way, we'll get right on it.
Yeah.
Great. He goes back to his hotel. But so no sooner has he gotten into his hotel room that a cloaked figure bursts in, lifts him off the ground, throws him inside, and slams the door behind him. They have a fight. He pulls the hood back, and it reveals Lurch, or Michael is his name.
Yeah.
And so they fight until Sergeant Angel gets him over the head with the peace lily.
Yes.
And then says, like, playtime's over. He distracts him with the monkey and then gets him with the peace lily.
Yeah.
But as that happens, Michael has dropped his walkie-talkie and hears Skinner over the walkie-talkie. Michael, are you there? Is everything okay? Yarp. Sergeant Angel has been taken care of? Yarp. He's not going to get back up again. Narp. Like a pause in the narp. He's like, good. Proceed to the castle.
I love the narp, man. It's so funny.
So good. He tries to call Frank. No one answers. But he goes to the castle. He runs into Danny and he's like, I'm going to bust this thing wide open. But it turns out to just be the neighborhood watch. And it kind of looks spooky in the dark. But they're basically saying bonum commune communitatis, like in Latin, like it's a secret society, and they're all cloaked, much like the killer has been.
Except their faces are well lit.
Right.
But everything else is the same. And I want to point out, they're more or less wearing hoodies.
Yes, they are hoodies, right?
Yeah.
They are also we're getting voiceover of like, how can I be in several places at once? Like everyone linked up with a walkie. So we get like, oh my God, it's all them. And we get essentially their meeting where Joyce is like, quick announcement before we begin. Janet Barker has decided to call her boys Roger and Martin, which is lovely. And the christening will be Saturday and all are welcome. Tom, thanks. Joyce, you'll now notice that Sergeant Angel is dead. Like it's the most mundane thing. And then they go through essentially who they killed and how they essentially have set it up so that Joyce will discover Sergeant Angel tomorrow morning, slipped on the wet floor of his bathroom and essentially breaking his neck. And we'll take it from there.
Paige, in this scene where we see the NWA, like the Neighborhood Watch Association at that stone, very King Arthur table.
Yes.
I kind of wanted them to just have like Ice Cube and Dr. Dre there and like just not even to say anything, just like to have them there because they're like, I guess the only two surviving members of NWA because Eazy-E's dead, but yeah.
Yes, that would be great. Anyway, Sergeant Angel interrupts them and is like, you thought I was dead? Well, I'm not. But I'm placing you all under arrest because of my conspiracy for murder, and this is what I think happened, essentially.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we did all of this for the greater good. And he's like, what do you mean the greater good? And they're like, the village, like, or I guess they go through, in order, they go through Martin Blower because he was a bad actor, and so they killed him for that.
Yeah.
You murdered him for that? He murdered Bill Shakespeare. But then they murdered Eve Draper. Or I guess this is also where we reveal that Greg was an extra in Straw Dogs and they didn't cast him in the play. So that's also why they killed Martin Blower. Eve Draper deserved to die. She had an annoying laugh. And George Merchant, he had an awful house. What about Tim Messenger? His tenure at the Sanford Citizen had been unbearable with misspellings, and he listed her age as 55 when I'm actually 53. And they essentially couldn't get insurance on the church roof until it actually broke. So 2 birds, 1 stone, I guess, with that one.
Yeah.
Then Leslie Tiller, she was so good, but if we can't have her, no one can. Not least the heathens at Uford Abbey, which is where she was going to move. And they all spit on the ground in unison at the mention of Uford Abbey, which is great.
It is, yeah.
But at this point, Sergeant Angel is like, how can this be for the greater good? The greater good. He's like, they died for no reason whatsoever. I wouldn't say that. And who should come out of the shadows but Frank, who's basically like, look, I was like you until my wife died. No one loved Sanford more than her.
Yeah.
She was the head of all of these committees and the Neighborhood Watch. She, got us the Village of the Year contest. She worked round the clock. It became her life. But before the adjudicators could come, there were people like street performers, crusty jugglers.
Crusty jugglers.
Right. In the street square. And we lost the title and she lost her mind and drove her car into Sanford Gorge. The inquiry said it was an accident, but I knew better from that moment on. I swore I'd do everything to make her proud, basically make sure we won every year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the truth. We can't trust Frank.
No, he's killed and set up fake deaths many times already.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I do love that essentially now we get like a round table of all of the people we've killed, the shoplifters, the hoodies, the grifters, the jugglers, and we're realizing they've killed dozens of people.
A ton of people, for sure.
Dozens. But Sergeant Angel is like, so this is just for that best village award? And they're like, yeah, what's the problem?
Of course.
What?
We're not going to lose that award.
Yeah, but out of the shadows, Lurch kind of like comes out and slaps a hand on his shoulder. They're going to try and kill Angel again. Danny gets ahead of it and stabs him.
Yeah.
Seemingly in the chest.
And you think it initially like, oh shit, that sucks, because they're like friends and he's in on it, you know?
Right. But, or actually, I guess, sorry, I have this backwards, because they chase him, he trips, he falls through that hole into the ground in the woods, and this is where we see all the dead bodies. We see Sergeant Popwell, we see the hoodies, we see the statue who's still frozen. It gets me every time.
It's very funny, yeah.
Yes. And eventually he finds someone in a police sergeant's uniform with a big bushy beard, Sergeant Popwell.
Yeah.
But he runs out right into Danny at the mouth of the cave he's run into. And this is where Danny stabs him in the chest, seemingly in the heart, and kills him.
Yeah.
And they put him in the trunk of Danny's car. We cut to that trunk opening, real Tarantino-esque, gold-like illumination, revealing that Angel's not dead. It was ketchup. But essentially, Danny's like, I thought it was just Dad's club. I didn't realize they were killing people. Like, I don't know what's going on. I thought they were just sending people on their way. And Angel goes like, there's skeletons back there, Danny. He's like, I don't know nothing about no skeletons, which is one of my favorite, like, I don't know about the skeletons. But this is also where we get Judge Judy and Executioner in this scene. He's like, I'm not Judge Judy and Executioner. But at this point, Danny is like, all right, I agree that we can, do this together, you and me. We're going to take on Sanford.
Yeah.
So Danny doesn't agree to go with him here. Sergeant Angel drives away, but in a bodega sees a pile of action movies. Lethal Weapon, Out for Justice, The Enforcer, Walking Tall, Hard to Kill. And he just says, there's something I've got to do. He grabs a pair of shades, spray paints, bubble gum, and basically puts money on the table, and he's headed back to the farm.
Yeah.
Now, just outside of Sanford, we see James Reaper's farm. He's one of the old men that's been kind of part of the neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
And he pulls out and walks to some horses at one of the gates. He looks behind him, and here's Nicholas Angel, who ends up stealing a horse and punching Mrs. Reaper out cold in this scene. But as he punches Mr. Reaper, Mrs. Reaper has a shotgun. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and as she's reloading, that's when he comes over. I think he might kick her, but he knocks her on her ass. Yeah.
He kicks her in the face. Yeah. But then he rides into Sanford, basically the town square.
On a horse. Like with 2 shotguns strapped to his back, a bandolier of shells, Well,
not yet.
Oh, that's right. He hasn't gone to the evidence locker yet.
Because he goes to the station.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes to the station. And he literally, no one pays attention to him because the police are not part of the neighborhood watch necessarily, except for Frank. So no one notices as he just walks to the evidence room.
Yeah, because for him, it is like the biggest day of his life. He's about to go have a gun battle with the whole entire town. But for them, it's just a Tuesday, man. And that's their coworker showing up to work or whatever,
Yep. And he takes everything as he's walking out. They're like, hey, somebody from London called from you. And he's like, tell them I'll call him back.
No, I think that's happened a few times. This is the time where he just turns around. He's got the sunglasses. He's got the toothpick, the double shotguns. He's got an assault rifle. And they're like,
yes,
we'll tell him you'll call him back. I thought it was a really funny flip of what we've seen before.
Well, and this is where we finally find out that it's 2 brothers at the front desk because they're like, I didn't know we had a mounted division. Nobody tells me nothing.
Yeah.
And it's both of them. But he rides down the street on a fucking horse.
Yeah, it looks kind of like The Walking Dead. It's pretty great.
Yes. But as he passes a group of hoodies, he tosses them spray cans to essentially spray all the CCTVs.
Yeah.
As he rides through, there are people putting up a banner that says, good luck, Sanford Village of the Year. So they're literally about to be adjudicated again.
Yeah, they are, Paige. By the man on the horse.
Judge Judy and Executioner.
I didn't realize the stakes were so high on that show.
Right? Right. But this is also where, as he rides past, Sergeant Angel, look at his horse instead of ours.
His horse. Yeah.
But essentially, all the people who are out on his normal route are out, and the guy with the big coat throws it back, revealing a giant shotgun, and a full shootout starts.
For like the next 25 minutes.
Yes.
It's like a gun battle all over town.
All over town. And Danny, whose squad car was sitting in their normal spot, gets out, basically is like, what the fuck do I do? Until Angel tosses him a gun.
Well, no, he saves Simon Pegg.
Yes.
Because Simon Pegg is kind of like pinned down, and then there's a lady she's like dual wielding on a bike.
Yes.
So she's like riding a bike and must have just really good balance, because when she's shooting those pistols, it's not at all messing up her balance on the bike, which was so impressive to me.
Yes.
But, Nick sees that, so he opens the door, so she runs into the door, and that kind of saves his life there.
Yes.
And then from that moment on, it is a buddy cop shootout until almost the very end of this movie.
Yeah, because at that point, Angel tosses him a gun, and he's like, you ready? Fuck yeah. And you're like, yes.
Well, and this is what he's been wanting his whole life. Like, he's been building to this moment.
His whole life. And this is where we get Joyce, where she yells out fascist and they reply hag.
Yes, they do. With bullets. But yeah. Well, and words. They do say that. Yeah.
Both of them. Then the Reverend comes out and is like, stop this violence. But then he's got guns. It doesn't matter. Like,
yo, when his guns come out, like he's also in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet.
Yes.
I was like, I love that. Like, Diderot was right, but this is a fun way for a priest to die too. I'll just say it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Although he doesn't die. We see him later. He survives getting shot here. So he's like holding one of the police placards, I think, at the end, showing he got arrested.
Almost none of them die, which is my favorite part. They all get shot in like the doctor gets shot in the knee and the leg.
Yeah.
Or they get like buckshot, but they don't get killed. So most of them are alive at the end. But then they go into the pub. The owners come smashing out. They shoot them down. Eventually, the other officers respond because like there's a shootout in the middle of town.
Yeah.
And they basically tell them what's going on.
Well, yeah, because Nick's dad, who's like the police chief, shows up with them and he's like, arrest this man. And then Nick is like, no, I'm not going to let you arrest him. And so they're like, well, okay, arrest both of them. Right. And that's when Simon Pegg starts giving him the speech of like, guys, you know something's wrong. You know I'm right. Just work with me to kill all the old people in town so that we can take everything for ourselves. That's not at all what he says. That's just what happens in the movie. But they do go with it. And they do, like, I would say, join the, quote, right side of history in the way, in the viewpoint of this movie, at least.
Yes, I do love that at one point, Frank is like, are you going to listen to him? He's not even from around here.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason you shouldn't. But they now are like, all right, now that we're a team, we're going to the grocery store and we're going to have a shootout in the grocery store, which is bonkers. They've got the guy from the butcher section throwing knives at them.
There's two guys there.
Two guys.
And it's so funny because they're behind like the glass, like the sneeze guard glass that the meat hangs out in. And they're shooting at the glass, trying to shoot them. And the bullets are just ricocheting off the glass. And then eventually they build like a battering ram full of shopping carts and run that into the glass case that they're behind. And it just shatters. And I was like, oh, really? Shopping carts are going to shatter it, but not bullets?
Not bullets. I also love that one of the Andes, a can of pasta sauce explodes next to him, but it looks like he's covered in blood. And the other Andy's like, no! And he's like, it's just bolognese. But this is also where they have to fight Lurch again. They crash him through the freezer. And Danny is like, did you say cool off? No, I didn't say anything. Oh, shame.
Shame. Yeah. And that's like a meme. You can see that GIF a lot on like social media. Just him being like, shame.
He also was like, but when I got him with the peace lily, I did say playtime's over. And then he just goes, you're off the fucking chain. They just keep, I fucking love it. Two blokes and a lot of cutlery. And Doris gets a little girl on girl.
I thought that shit was so funny because I think she's like the admin of the store or whatever. We've seen her a few times.
Yes.
She comes out to try and attack them. And then Olivia hits her with the slippery when wet sign.
Wet floor.
Yes. Yeah.
And she slides way farther than she should.
It's amazing.
And the Foley on is... It is so good.
It is really good.
It's great.
And then she's like, everyone loves little girl on girl. It's like, she only has sexually suggestive things to say, and it's always funny.
Yes. But they see that Skinner's escaping, so Danny and Angel take off after him while stopping to pick up the swan. because they do see the swan.
I love that the swan not only comes back at the end, but also helps.
Right.
So dumb.
Well, and Frank is the one that has picked up Skinner. They're driving away past a kill your speed sign. He swerves because of the swan.
Well, and this is at the time where they're actually shooting from car to car.
Right.
Which is one of the things that Nick asked earlier. Have you ever done that in a high-speed chase?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they chase Skinner through the model village.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Skinner limps away from the car crash where Frank has crashed the car and is motionless at the wheel. So you think maybe he's dead.
Or knocked out or something, yeah.
Or knocked out. He limps away and grabs a child at the model village to hold him hostage.
That little ginger nugget's going to get it.
He's going to get it. But we will find out this is Aaron Aronson.
Which is a callback from earlier when they're like, oh, should we just call everyone in the phone book starting with Aaron A. Aronson?
But Angel and Skinner fight. The sprinkler kind of rains down because they are knocking over pieces of the village. The sprinkler's going.
It's very like the last few scenes of a Power Rangers episode where they're just like destroying the city around them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he essentially kicks Skinner, or Skinner goes to attack him, and he overcompensates and falls on the church roof, essentially.
Yeah, it's honestly what he kills Tom Messenger with.
Yes.
It's just the miniature version goes through under his chin, out the top of, not the top of his mouth, because it doesn't go into his top of his mouth. It comes out his mouth, which to me seems like it might be more painful.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But he's going to need some ice cream, but he is still alive.
Yeah.
We then cut to them about to go back to the station. They're about to put him in the car, but who comes up? Frank with a gun.
Yeah.
And he basically, Danny and Angel are like, look, this stopped because you lost someone you love, so don't shoot someone else that you love. And he says, I'm going to shoot you, except Danny aims his gun and is about to pull the trigger and instead fires up into the sky as Frank jumps in the car and drives off Point Break style.
Yeah, because he can't shoot his own dad. It's hilarious because it's beat for beat the exact same moment from Point Break, except it's not friends. It's like a father-son.
Right. But we then cut back to the station where Angel and Danny are sitting with blankets around them, and who has showed up but the men from London who were like, hey, we've been trying to get you back. Crime is out of control without you. And he's like, no, I got to stay because I got to do paperwork. And we get an action montage of them completing paperwork, which I find hysterical.
But it's the whole team, right? So it's not just him this time. Yeah.
Yes. We've got the manpower, don't we? You wouldn't mind a little manpower, Doris. Ha ha ha. She says dirty bastard and then tosses a trash can at Danny again. It's a great callback to earlier. But as they're all laughing, who should show up but Tom Weaver with a blunderbuss who says, you know what you all are? A bloody busybody. He fires. Danny jumps in front of it, taking the full force of his blast in the chest.
Yeah.
And as Sergeant Angel kicks the wastebasket into Weaver's face, basically knocking him off his feet.
Well, and falling into the evidence locker, hitting the sea mine, and then it lands and then over his leg. So he's trapped, and then it actually engages because one of the pressure things gets hit all the way down. And so everybody gets blown up.
Yes, everyone gets blown up, but they're all walking around what used to be the police station. They're like, all right, well, we're all alive except for that guy who definitely died.
Yeah.
But then we get a Chiron of 1 year later where he is now an inspector. He's suiting up at the station. He basically goes through all of his kind of beat. And again, he is basically the fascist dictator of this town.
Yeah.
He did do Leslie's garden.
He also gets flowers, right, from the garden, I believe.
Right.
And then goes to the grave. And at first you think it's Nick's grave.
Right.
He's like, is this all right? And it seems like he's talking to the grave and he's like, hey, I brought you flowers. Is this all right? And then you hear Nick's voice be like, yeah, they're beautiful. And it's his mom's grave, I think.
Yes, it's his mom's. Yeah. It's his mom's grave.
It's really sweet. And it also shows in a nice kind of sweet reveal that he's still alive and they're still friends and all that.
Yeah. But they get a call to go attend to an incident in town. And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think about Hot Fuzz?
Big fan still. And it holds up on repeat viewings. You see new stuff every time.
Yeah.
It's a huge fave of mine.
Yeah, it's a really, really well done movie. I feel like we talked a lot about it at the beginning, just from a film made standpoint. It's really well made. And it's also really funny script and it's got really great people in it. So how is it not going to be a great movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, Paige, do you want to hit us with some fun facts?
Yes.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Hot Fuzz, fun facts.
So the first draft of the script included a love interest named Victoria, but she was cut from subsequent drafts. A good amount of her dialogue remains in the movie and was just given to Danny with no modifications.
I kind of buy that. And honestly, I think I might prefer it that way because this is more of a buddy cop comedy lane in my mind. And that would, I don't know, kind of pull it out of that some. That would be like adding a love interest in The Heat for like Sandra Bullock or Melissa McCarthy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Nick Frost only agreed to do the film if he could name his own character. And he was also asked by Edgar Wright to watch over 20 different action films as kind of like warming up for the role. And according to him, he watched only one, Bad Boys 2.
Nice.
When in costume, Nick Frost and Simon Pegg were often assumed to be police officers, so strangers would stop and ask them for directions.
I guess they weren't really super famous yet.
Right.
So like, yeah, I could kind of see that, especially in like maybe a small town.
Yes.
Which I guess Edgar Wright kind of grew up in.
Yep. Instead of telling them they were filming a movie, they would just give people directions and go on with their day.
Oh, I mean, that's probably way easier than trying to explain what's happening, right?
Yes.
So funny.
The judges for Best Kept Village competition near the end of the movie are played by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg's mothers.
Amazing.
On the DVD commentary, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright thought that the misspellings in the paper would show up in IMDb's like goofs or like trivia sections or like kind of like CinemaSins will do sometimes where they'll note misspellings in fake newspapers. And they were hoping that people would watch the full movie and understand that it was like a plot point before just entering them as goofs.
Right. Yeah. Like they had unintentionally made those mistakes instead of it like actually being a plot point, which it is. Like there are lines of dialogue about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Samson the dog, who plays Saxon the dog, was not allowed to become a real police dog because he was too friendly.
Honestly, they do have dogs that fail out of like police school because they are just too friendly. And those are the dogs I want because they don't narc.
So this is the Blue Cornetto trilogy film. Shaun of the Dead is red.
Obviously.
You've got Red on You, and World's End is green with peppermint chip representing science fiction and extraterrestrial elements. So when they pick up Super Cop in the grocery store, Super Cop, meet the cop that can't be stopped. The next DVD under it in the bargain bin is Shaun of the Dead.
No shit.
Yeah, it's called Zombies Party, which that was like the secret title of Shaun of the Dead in certain countries.
That's great.
But the price tag covers Simon Pegg's face so that you can't tell that it's him. So when doing research for the film, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg discovered that a disproportionate number of police officers are named either Nick or Andy, which is why they named him Nicholas Angel and had two Andys. The Angel part is named after the film's music director, and the joke where the local paper misspelled Angel's name as Angle was based on several incidents where that musical director had that happen to him.
Oh, that's shitty. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, though.
All of the pictures of young Danny in this movie are real Nick Frost childhood pictures that he contributed to using the film. This is something that happens a lot where if you're trying to see a young picture of somebody, they'll just use actual pictures where, like when we were watching Kill Bill last night, there's multiple times where Uma Thurman looks at young pictures of herself. And when there's like no one else in them, that I'm like, I bet that's just a picture she has, which is very interesting to me.
That's just like a headshot from like her first acting days?
No, they're all like candid. So it's like her outside a restaurant or something like that, which I think is really funny. But yeah, the names of the townspeople of Sanford are almost all words for occupations or activities. Cooper, Porter, Turner, Shooter, Prosser, Hatcher, Paver, Butcher, Skinner, Fisher, Walker, Thatcher, Weaver, Roper, Tiller, Reaper, Messenger, Staker, Treacher, Cocker, Blower, Draper, Merchant, Cartwright, Wainwright. Since the practice of English family names being derived from professions dates back centuries, it's to imply that the families of Sanford are very old and have been there for many generations.
For about half of that, I thought you were like quoting Daft Punk lyrics to me, but that makes sense now. Yeah.
Buy it, use it, break it, Raper, Draper. No.
Calm down.
Raper. No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. When Angel gets annoyed at the supermarket, the intercom voice is Edgar Wright. which I think is really funny. If you remember from Shaun of the Dead, he's also the voice of the maitre d' for the restaurant he calls that he can't get reservations to.
That's right. That's
like,
right.
I'm sorry, we just given away our last table. According to the certificates on the wall, among the 9 special commendations Sergeant Angel received, there are awards for Operation Shakedown, Crackdown, Showdown, and Takedown.
Hell yeah.
Which I find very funny. Police Constable Doris Thatcher was so named because prior to equality in the UK police service, female officers were all referred to as Doris, regardless of their names. Kind of in the way that we refer to annoying entitled women as Karens. Every woman who worked as a police officer was Doris.
Interesting.
I think it's kind of an interesting fact, kind of like the way Trixie Mattel goes by Trixie because that was something people called them when they were little as an insult. I think that's kind of similar here, where I would assume Doris was kind of an insult. And so it's interesting to have a character named after it.
Yeah.
But so Jim Broadbent was a big fan of Shaun of the Dead and asked for roles in their next film. That's the case with a lot of the famous people they get in this movie. Simon Pegg did a bunch of weapons training and also learned how to skid a bicycle like an Akira slide because of that one in the opening montage.
Yeah.
I'll end on this one. This is pretty fun. And there's also so many fun facts for this. So if you go searching online, you will find more. Sanford is the name given to the town used for most UK police training scenarios, the street plan of which is based on the plan of Dundee, Scotland, but it is almost always referred to as Sanford.
Oh.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Hot Fuzz in 2007?
Ooh, I know that they got a lot more money after Shaun of the Dead, but I still think that this is not as expensive as you would think it is. I want to say that this is about $15 million.
Yeah, you're real close. It's $16 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really good guess. Just to put that into perspective, against Shaun of the Dead, that was $5 million.
Damn.
So they got $11 million more for this movie, and it was Shaun of the Dead was 2004. So what is that? 4 years later? 3 years later? Anyway, so this movie came out the weekend of April 20th, 2007, at least here in the States, because that's what I could find. It was number 6 in the theaters that weekend. It was beat by Disturbia, which was number 1. Fracture was number 2. Blades of Glory was number 3. Vacancy was number 4. And Meet the Robinsons was number 5. Obviously, Hot Fuzz was number 6. But Paige, what do you think Hot Fuzz made in its opening weekend?
Ooh, opening weekend, I bet this made about $4 million.
It did a little bit better. It was $5.8 million.
Okay.
And again, this is the U.S. release.
Yeah.
And we'll sort of talk about how it did overseas, which was a lot of that is it's what I would call domestic release in the UK. But
right.
It was 6th the second week it was in the U.S. theaters on April 27th or that weekend. And then the third week it was out, it fell to 9th. And then in its 4th week, it was 10th. And then actually jumped back up to 9 and then was never again in the top 10. And was out of theaters after 14 weeks. So what do you think it made in the U.S. when it came out in 2007?
This did have a bit of a buzz about it because Shaun of the Dead had already come out.
Yeah.
So I would say in the U.S., maybe $10 million.
It actually did quite a bit better. It was $23.6 million.
Good for them.
That's pretty great, right? Now, it did do better what it's calling here internationally, but the majority of that is coming from the UK, and it's $56.8 million. That's not just the UK, but a lot of that's the UK.
Yeah.
For a total of $80.4 million made at the box office worldwide. So remember, that's on a $16 million budget. So that's huge return on investment.
Right.
But the home market performance was actually $36.7 million. So this eventually went on to, and I'm sure it's made way more than this now, but, you know, between that $80 million and the $36 million, it has made, what is that, $116-ish million? A little over that, $117 million. And that's before like streaming rights and all that stuff. So it did well, guys. It did real well in 2007, 2008 in the theaters and then home market. But that is your box office. So Paige, you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of how scary we found the film when watching it today, with 1 being Ghostbusters and 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd.
I'm going to give it a 2 because I did jump twice, but both times I jumped, it was just because it was a musical stinger. There also is some pretty good gore in this, but I've seen it a few times, so it didn't really bother me this time.
Yeah. For me, I've seen this so many times. It is a 1 for me for sure. But if gore gets to you, it might not be a 1 for you, given the amount of gore in this film.
Yeah.
And that's your scary scale.
Well, this week, Paige, you made us watch Hot Fuzz, and next week is listener request, and in their infinite wisdom, the Patreon listeners whittled the final 4 December listener request movies down to A Christmas Horror Story, Dreamcatcher, Krampus, and Snowpiercer. And the winner by far was Krampus. It had 48% of the vote, which technically is a revisit, but Paige wasn't on that episode. So it's really only a revisit for half of us. So guys, your homework for next week is to watch Krampus and then report back to find out what we thought about that movie.
Hey, do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
I do. So this week, I'm going to read one of our Spotify comments from our most recent episode, which because of the way we are recording this is our Frankenstein episode, which we got a good number of comments on. This one I'm going to read from Louise. She says, there's a callback to Shape of Water. Herr Harlander washes his hands both before and after peeing. In The Shape of Water, Michael Showalter's character says, when a man washes his hands says a lot about the man, and if he does it before and after, he's not right in the head. Harlander has syphilis, and it's already gone to his head. So it's like a subtle indication before that's revealed. And I do remember, because we recently did The Shape of Water on Romancing the Pod.
Yeah.
And I remember that line. So, Louise, thank you so much for that call out. That's really good.
Thank you.
And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or 5-star Apple review, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So, guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady, and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back, and I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah, have an amazing week, guys. Bye! You guys got to check out that Will Forte sketch, nerds!